Hi there, this is Eshu. I'm the abbot here at Zenwest Buddhist Society. This Living Zen-podcast is just one of the many resources we've created at Zenwest to make Zen practice and training more available and accessible to people all over the world. Instructional videos, printable resources, and much, much more are also available on our website at www.zenwest.ca. If you're a regular listener, I'd love to hear from you. So please drop me an email at office@zenwest.ca and let me know who you are, how you got started, and what brought you to Zen. Everything we make available in person and online at Zenwest is only possible because of the support of our members and associates, people like you. If the efforts of our community are making a difference in your life, I'd like to invite you to show your support and take part in making it happen by becoming an associate or member of the Zenwest Sangha. You can do this by clicking the Join Us tab on our website at www.zenwest.ca. Thank you for your support, and thanks for listening.
I get a lovely view here of Finnerty Gardens, just out these windows. Lots of blossoms coming forth. It's a lovely time of year. New beginnings, new growth. We have an apple tree on our front lawn, and as I was coming in for the sit this evening, I noticed the blossoms had enlarged. They're just bursting out all over the tree. It occurred to me that this is very much like my experience of practice, in that there can be long periods of apparent dormancy. During the winter, the trees and the bushes, they just don't seem to be doing much of anything. And sometimes my practice seems like that as well. And then, with the wildlife, the plant life, and so on, when the time and the conditions, when they ripen, when things come together, the length of the day, the temperature, all the different effects that play into the new growth, there's this burst, this eruption of vitality that just leaps forth. Sometimes I wonder when that eruption of vitality will leap forth from my practice. I can get impatient. But there's no point in wanting new spring growth in the middle of the winter. It will happen when it happens, and it's not going to happen before it happens. It's hard for me anyway, sometimes difficult to be patient and to have the confidence that, sure enough, in spring, the flowers will come up. They always do, and they probably will again. In practice, we may find it more challenging to really have the confidence that our practice will unfold appropriately. Perhaps we have ideas of how we think things ought to go, how things ought to develop, perhaps comparing ourselves to other people. Wow, there's no cheese down that tunnel. I've tried that. But it doesn't do to hear that. We have to bump into these things ourselves to really incorporate them into our experience. The flowers in springtime, I think, is there's a lot to this analogy or metaphor. Practice is often compared to planting seeds. The seeds we have inside us, from one point of view, we have the seeds of all different kinds of behaviors. Behaviors that we would be happy about, proud of, laudable behaviors, and also seeds of ones that we would rather avoid, perhaps more destructive, hurtful. We could say negative. They're all in there. And the trick seems to be to water the seeds that we want. If we want certain fruits, certain flowers, we need to encourage those ones to grow. And so, of course, in our practice, there are many ways we can encourage ourselves. Sitting regularly, participating with a Sangha, accepting where we are as there being no place other than where we are to be, and at the same time not falling into complacency or despondency. Or if we do, when we recognize it, to take action to ameliorate that situation. Knowing that there will be times, winter times, when nothing seems to be moving, when all the action is hidden to our awareness, perhaps. I find in my own practice at times like this, it's really useful to remember even small shifts that I've experienced in the past. Oh yes, remember the time yada 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 happened. I thought it would go on forever, but it didn't. Not to be impatient, but not to just wait around twiddling our thumbs, not taking any initiative. We need to keep at it. Find this balance. It's always this balance. Allowing things on the one hand and engaging, earnestness, zeal. This is one of the perfections we need to engage. We need to weed the garden. Perhaps there are new shoots just starting to emerge and they're being choked out by weeds. We have to be vigilant. These weeds spring up all over the place. We've spent probably most of our lives letting our garden go to weeds. They can take many forms, distractions, habit patterns of indulgence or closedness of one sort or another. We offer a course, the Fundamentals course here. Many of you have taken it. Part of the exercises there are to explore sense restraint. What happens when we use our senses in ways that we're not accustomed to? Very illuminating. Habits that we become aware of are habits that have less hold over us. And these go on at every level, from comfort-seeking distractions, ways of coping, often outdated coping strategies. Perhaps we picked them up in childhood, and they're still playing out. I noticed the other day, I was thinking about my mother, and I realized a little bit more than I had previously the extent to which all my life, one of my principal motivators was trying to please my mother. Well, she's been dead for 14 years, so if she isn't pleased by now, I could let go of that one perhaps. But I can let go of it only when I recognize that dynamic is in play. And then there's a whole lot underneath it before it really fades away. Some of these things are deeply rooted. Some are very surface. We can deal with the surface ones fairly easily. But not to think, if we clear away some of the conspicuous weeds, that there aren't ones with more pervasive root systems that will continue to emerge and need more or less constant vigilance. And as usual, it comes back to settling down, finding the stillness, exploring the stillness, letting the obstructions, the impediments bubble up perhaps, or show themselves. See them perhaps over and over again until we're ready to let them soften, disengage with them a little bit, and finally perhaps let them go, perhaps just have a completely transformed relationship to them. For example, I think my habits of pleasing my mother, of being the calming element, let's say, in my family of origin, these are deeply rooted patterns, and I expect they'll be with me for as long as until they're not, which could be a long time. But the power they have over me decreases as my awareness of them and their fallout increases. I have more choice, more space, more potential available. The more I can find this still point, the origin, you could say, or the source. Using this practice, staying vigilant, doing it regularly, whether I want to or not, sometimes prodding myself to go a little further, to engage a little more. If I feel I'm getting complacent, there are many things I can do to give myself a little nudge. And joining in community, particularly, I find, just personally, a wonderful boost. If I'm down, perhaps someone else is up. And if I'm up and others are down, perhaps I can share my story. I can reach out, perhaps. I can interact with other people, give them a boost, do what I can to assist, and in turn be rejuvenated by their energies and their eruptions of vitality, such as they occur. Many ways to support my practice and to support others. Well, let's continue this evening and just settle into this stillness for our mutual benefits. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.